All right, so off of page 246, number 29. All right, do the remainder. Okay, they're basically asking us to find the remainder, and it says to use synthetic division. So did you set up synthetic division?
Yeah.
Okay, what was on the outside?
-2.
Okay, great. Okay, and on the inside?
3, -2, 1, -5.
Okay, and we check our synthetic division, so drop a 3, carry -6, get -8, get a 16, 17, -34, did you get -39? Okay, and that's it. They just want to check the remainder.
So all you have to do is...
Yeah, if you looked in the back of the book, they said -39. So that's basically you're just checking the remainder to see if you did it right. Yep. All right, number 54. Find all the zeros, and we're not blocked from using our calculator, so I hope you got started with that. So we have 5x to the third minus 24x squared. So think about your cycle. You're at the top of the cycle right now, right? This is the polynomial. And so from the polynomial, if we're thinking about our cycle, you can go to the graph, if you're allowed, or you go to the factors. And so if you're allowed the graph, for sure, always go that way. All right? So it is really hard to tell. It is 0.8. I will be very clear. It will be whole numbers that I want you to use, or if anything, it would be 0.5, but I'm not going to give you 0.8. This one happened to be 0.8. Okay? So, but I promise I will not give it to you like that. But the process, once you know that, it's the same. Okay? You got -24 and 1 and 12. Once you know it's 0.8, then synthetic division goes fine, because you multiply, you get 4. That gives you -20. Okay, you multiply there, you get -16. It gives you -15. Okay, it all works out fine. You get -12, and it works out to be 0. So once you know the 0.8, but I promise, either I will tell you it's 0.8, or I will make it a nice integer on the graph. Okay, but once you know it's 0.8, do you know what to do from there? No, because right. You only use a second one if you have imaginaries, because the imaginaries are the one that come in pairs. This one's not imaginary, so you don't have a second one. You just reattach your variables. So 5 would be x squared, and 20 would be x, and 15 equals 0. So then we're ready to do the quadratic formula. Okay, and you'll do your quadratic formula. When you get to the point where you're ready for your factors, Angela, remember that your factors are going to start with the lead coefficient. What is the lead coefficient? 5, so that would be out front. And then you'll have 3 factors for all the ones that you find, with the ones with the quadratic formula and stuff. Okay? All right, number 71 talks to us about finding the asymptotes. So when you hear the clue word about asymptotes, what does that mean you have to do first? Do you know what that clue word is for you when you hear the word as soon as it says asymptotes? No. Okay, so that means you have to do synthetic division. We did a worksheet on it yesterday in class, and then it was like page 2 of your review paper last night. So you're going to have to do synthetic division. So you're going to do x to the third plus x squared minus 2x plus 5. So you're going to have to do synthetic division, and it's over x plus 2. Okay, so the asymptotes mean that you're going to have vertical asymptote and a horizontal or slant or something like that, but you won't be able to know until you do synthetic division and see what the remainder is and see what you get. So what should go on the outside of your synthetic division? Okay, and then the inside is going to be 1 and 1 and negative 2 and 5. So then you're going to work through the process and see what you get. You multiply, that'll give me 2, 0. So I get a remainder of 5. So now put it back in its standard form. Okay, so can you tell me what the summary statement is going to look like? So reattach the variables. Sure. X squared minus x plus 0 plus okay, so now we have it written like that, and we can tell where the asymptotes are going to be. We are going to have a slanted asymptote this time, okay? So because when you have x's left, that's going to be slant. So you're going to have a slanted asymptote right there. The 0 always tells you if it's up or down. So the fact that it's 0 means it's not going to move up or down. It's going to stay right where it is. And then the x plus 2 tells me that I'm going left 2. And then what does the 5 tell me? Stretch. Okay, so we have our slant. We're not going down at all because of the 0. We're going left 2, and then we have a stretch of 5. Okay, so each of the pieces tell me something in particular. Okay. All right, number 66. So Joseph, if you're thinking about the cycle, with what you're given with 66, where are you starting in the cycle? Not with what we're given. I'm not given points, I'm given zeros. Okay, I am given zeros. And the zeros I am given are 2 minus I, and I'm also given negative 1. Okay, I am told a little bit about the factors. I'm told that it's degree 3. So I'm told that there's going to be 3 of those. I'm not told about the lead, so I got to remember that I have to figure out the lead myself. So I got to know what's my lead going to be. But I do at least know a couple of the zeros. So can you go from the zeros to create some of the factors? Okay, so what will the factors be?
X minus 2 minus I and x minus 2 plus I.
Okay, good. So I've got 2 of them.
And then x plus 1.
Okay, great. All right, I still don't know what the lead is yet. That's okay. And then I'm going to go from my factors back around the cycle. I'm going to create a polynomial, which is what it's asking me to do. And I still won't need to figure out the lead. So how do I go? I just went from the zeros to the factors. How do I go from the factors to the polynomial? Okay, so we're going to superfoil the first 2. When I superfoil the first 2 together, how can I check to make sure I haven't missed anything? I should have 9 terms because I've got 3 from the first 3 terms in the first set of parentheses, 3 terms in the second set of parentheses, so I should have 9. It's always a good thing to ask yourself, do I have everything or am I missing some of those? Did I accidentally forget? Because you should have 9. I should get the first 3 by distributing the first x. That's going to give me x squared minus 2x plus ix. The next set of 3 is going to come from distributing the negative 2. That's going to give me negative 2x plus 4 minus 2i. But I still have 3 more to go. And what happened on people's quizzes and stuff, like they would only have 7 terms. And it's like, shoot, if you would have counted, you would have realized you were missing some. So I still am missing the last 3. And so the last 3 would be minus ix plus 2i and minus I squared. So I do double check. I have all 9 terms that I need, and then I can start canceling out the terms that are opposite from each other. So I'm going to have a positive ix and a negative ix that'll cancel out. I'll have a negative 2i and a positive 2i. So what I end up that's not canceled out is x minus 2x plus 4, and then at the end I have minus I squared, which is minus negative 1, which is going to turn to a plus 1. So I'll have x squared minus 4x plus 5. That has to be FOILed with the x plus 1 that I haven't done yet. So I'll take that and I'll FOIL it with x plus 1. And I'll work that out. So this is a really good question to end on. So we'll have x cubed. By the way, how can I check, Joseph, how can I check when I FOIL those two together, how many terms should I have so that I know I haven't missed any? Should have 6 terms because I've got 3 terms in the front and 2 terms in the back. That's 3 times 2 is 6. So I can make sure I've got them all. So I'll have x cubed plus x squared minus 4x squared minus 4x plus 5x plus 5. And I do have 6 terms. And then when I combine them together, this is what I end up with. But I still haven't answered my lead term question, my lead coefficient. So that was that last bit of information that the problem told me. The problem gave me that f of 2 is 6. That means when I plug 2 into the problem, the polynomial that I have, I should get 6 as an answer. So let's plug 2 into our polynomial. Let's see what we get. When we plug 2 in, that's 2 to the third minus 3 times 2 squared plus 1 times 2 plus 5. So that gives me 8 minus 12 plus 2 plus 5. That's 8 minus 12. That's negative 4 plus, what do I get? Negative 4 plus 7. I only get 3. I'm supposed to get 6. So how can I get from 3 to 6? Double it. So which means my lead coefficient should have been 2. So that tells me I go back, oh, my lead coefficient was 2. And so come back to my polynomial, and the last thing is to times it by 2, times it all the way across, all those numbers by 2, which will give me my final answer. So I'll have 2x to the third minus 6x squared plus 2x plus 10, and that is the final version of the polynomial. So that was a really good one to end on because we had to do some superfoil and we had to figure out the lead term for the polynomial also. For number 84, you're going to use negative 1/2 gravity times t squared plus velocity times t plus the height. All right, did you start with that?
Yep.
Okay, so tell me about, you plugged in all of your things. Tell me what you got for your equation. And what would you use for gravity? And what would you use for velocity? And what would you use for height here?
Negative 16 t squared.
So you're jumping ahead just a little bit. You're using 32 then.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've already done that. Okay, plus.
Plus 170x plus 6.
Okay, I did t because we're talking about time. Plus 6. So yeah, you're going to simplify that. So negative 16t squared plus 170t plus 6. That is our equation for the rock. All right, so that's part A. So that's done. Part B, what is the maximum height and when will it get there? What is it really asking you for? It's asking you for the vertex, right? So this is part A. Part B, they want to know maximum height, so they want to know the vertex. And so we're going to do negative b over 2a. So negative 170 over 2 times negative 16. So negative 170 over negative 32. Did you work that out?
I got it.
Okay, I'll finish it for everybody else. What do you get? Give me the fraction. Am I faster than you with that? Okay, it should be 85 over 16. All right, and that's your h value. Okay, how do you get the rest of the vertex?
Plug in bars.
Okay, so I would suggest using vars to figure out the k value. So you're going to plug 85 over 16 back into the vars equation. I mean, you can do it by hand if you want. Negative 16 parentheses 85 over 16, but then you got to remember to square that, and then you got to have 170 times 85 over 16, and then plus 6. So you can try that on your own, but there's a lot of places where students might make a mistake, like parentheses or squaring or a negative or something. So I always just feel like it's safer to plug it back into vars. That's just my best advice for your best chance at getting it right. Overall, and let's see, that comes out to be 7,321 over 16, which is approximately 457.563 feet, and this is seconds. So that answers the question for B of what's the maximum height. That's 557.5625 feet. And when does it get there? That's the 85 over 16 feet, or 5.135 feet. So you're answering both questions. And then do you need help with C, Hayden?
No.
You're good?
Yeah.
When it hits the ground, what would you do?
Are we allowed to use your calculator on that?
Probably the one I would give you on the test is going to be easier numbers, but so no, you'd have a regular calculator but not a graphing calculator. Okay, so when something hits the ground, what do you know about the rock equation?
Oh,
It's equal to 0. So part C, okay, when it's going to hit the ground would be when 0 is equal to the negative 16t squared plus 170t plus 6. And then how do you solve that? Bum, bum, ba-na-na-na-na, dum, ba-da-na. There you go, quadratic formula. Okay, that's always how you solve a squared thing when it's set equal to 0. So we've got x equals negative b. So our quadratic formula will give us that time is going to be negative 170 plus or minus the square root of 170 squared minus 4 times negative 16 times 6 all over 2 times negative 16. And of course you'd have a calculator, like a scientific calculator, to do that. But the quadratic formula will give you the answer for that of when it hits the ground. So when you type that into your calculator, you're going to get 10.6 repeating seconds. Okay. All right. Okay, number 56. It says write the find all the zeros and write the factors for 56. If you think, kind of remember our cycle that we were doing, where do they give us, where are we in the cycle with what they give us? Okay, we're at polynomial. So in 56, they tell us the polynomial for starters. Okay, the polynomial is x to the 4th minus 8x to the 3rd plus 27x squared, 50x plus 50. And they actually do give us something else on that cycle. What else do they give us?
1 plus 2i.
And that's a 0. Okay, what do we do with that 0 and that polynomial? Divide it how? Okay, so I'm going to use synthetic division. How many zeros should there be altogether? There should be 4. And I'm going to need to come up with 4 factors also. So I'm going to need to eventually end up with 4 factors. So I'm going to have to do synthetic division. When you do synthetic division with imaginary numbers, the first round is painful, and then it gets easier as it goes. So we're going to do 1 plus 2i on the outside, and we'll have 1 and negative 8 and 27 and negative 50 and 50 on the inside. And it is painful just because it does have imaginary numbers. The second round, when we get to it, is going to be a lot easier. So we're going to drop the 1. And at least I've got 1 plus 2i for starters. How does that simplify, Brandon? Yep, negative 7 plus 2i. Here's where it gets, the hardest part is right now, is where you have to FOIL the 1 plus 2i on the outside with the negative 7 plus 2a on the inside. That's the trickiest part. So I usually swipe my work over, and I kind of do it over in the margins, so I can FOIL those two together. But that's where it's going to be the hardest. So we're going to FOIL negative 7 plus 2i minus 14i plus 2i squared. That's going to give me negative 11 minus 12i. So I come back over here, I've got negative 11 minus 12i. All right, what's the result when you combine those?
16 minus 12.
Okay. Again, a little bit tedious, and that you have to do the FOIL work one more time. So I'll sweep this over to the side, 16 minus 12i. 16 minus 12i, FOILed with 1 plus 2i. So I'm going to have 16 plus 32i minus 12i minus 24i squared. So we will be looking at 40 plus 20i. All right, 40 plus 20i. That's going to give me negative 10. Whoops. Plus 20. So 20i and 20i. So negative 10 plus 20i. And then one more time, I have to sweep this over to the side. Negative 10 plus 20i, FOILed with 1 plus 2i. We'll get negative 10 minus 20i plus 20i plus 40i squared. That's negative 50, which is sure a good thing because that gives me 0. Okay, so that first time is always a struggle. The second time is always so much easier. But when I'm referring to the second time, Brandon, what am I talking about dividing with? Okay, we call that the conjugate. So we'll be dividing a second round with 1 minus 2i, and we'll divide that. Nate, is there something you could be doing to, like, did you get this 100% right? Okay. All right, so we're going to 1 minus 2i, and the great thing about that is right away what happens? The i's cancel out, and so I'm left with negative 6. Okay, and then we do that, and we get negative 6 plus 12i, and again, right away, the i's cancel out, and I get 10. And then I do that, and I get 10 minus 20i, and right away, those cancel out. So it's like a big sigh of relief. Everything canceled out the right way and what it should have been. So we reattach our variables, and we've got 1x squared minus 6x plus 10. That's set equal to 0. So how can I go from here to my last two quadratic formula? Okay, so I'm going to have x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And then you'll simplify from there.